People that have moved into a house/apartment, what's the most interesting thing you found from the previous occupants? One of my cousins and his wife moved into their first house, which 2 owners before him had been a medium-sized drug dealer. The rumor was that there was still cash money stashed somewhere in the house. The previous owner thought it was in the backyard and spent their weekends digging holes to no avail. So my cousin and his wife would go around putting their ears to the various walls and knocking on them listening for hollow or dead spots. He and his wife talked about drilling holes in some of the walls, but decided against it. After a year they decided to repaint and were going through and came to one of the bedrooms, which was the only room in the house that had wallpaper. They didn't think anything of it until they stripped it off and saw the square marked on the wall. Turned out part of it was a supporting wall right up against one side of the square. So they cut from the other side, and when they pulled the wood and stuff out they found 30 bricks of cash, a little over $950,000. The drug dealer has died, so they got to keep it after paying taxes. My husband and I found a Crown Royal bag in the rafters of the basement that previous tenants had left behind. As soon as I saw it, I yelled, "Open it! Open it! It's money or drugs." It was not money or drugs. It was a purple dildo and some lube. Way back on January 1st, 1976, my family moved into an apartment. I was 10 years old at the time. We had just come to Canada in June. While we were cleaning my room before painting it, we took off the radiator cover to clean the inside. Under the radiator cover was a complete, handmade game of Monopoly. I didn't really know English at the time and didn't know what Monopoly was. Later I found out that the 2 boys living in that room had been a couple of years older than me. Their parents had been very strict, old world traditional, and had refused to let them buy a Monopoly game, so they had handcrafted their own and kept it hidden in the radiator. Pennies. Me and my homies found like $6 worth of pennies and nickels under the carpets from 1980 and before. At my old place there was one spot in the yard that was covered in change. Literally paved with money. It was like someone dumped buckets of change on this one spot and spread it around. My dad and I raked up what we could and ended up with $50, and we didn't even get close to all of it. I have been wondering for years why someone would do that, and I still have no clue. I renovated the basement and tore down the drop ceiling. An envelope fell out in the process. I was hoping for money, but I got something better. In the envelope was a bunch of evidence collected by the ex-husband that she was cheating on him. Credit card receipts, hotel receipts, lewd emails, and dick pics. It was gross, but awesome at the same time. Not me, but there was this post a while back where a guy took down a wall so he could put in a shower, then found a hidden shower behind the wall. A series of clues leading to a bra hidden behind an air vent. I once left a dildo in the ventilation right above the air filter in my old apartment. It had never been used, I think, and was a gag gift given to my roommate by someone we knew. None of us wanted to take it with us, and we thought it'd be a nice surprise for whoever changes the filter next. It was set up so when you change the filter it would have to fall out. I wish I could've been there for that discovery. I was going through a separation, and I rented a dumpy old house and was super depressed about it. On the first day, I opened a closet and found a framed, signed photo of Jimmy Carter. I didn't have anything else to hang on the wall, so up old Jimmy went. That house ended up being my kids' and my favorite house. We had so much fun there, and we were so happy. I eventually remarried, and we moved to a house in the same neighborhood. We are still very happy in our beautiful new house, but Jimmy Carter still watches over us here. $20K and $20 bills in a mason jar. Oldest bill was from the late 1990s. A brand new riding mower was in the garage under a tarp, still waiting for them to come back for it. My brother found a mysterious wrapped bundle in the drop ceiling of his house and waited for me to be there to open it. We thought it might be drugs or money or something illegal, so I wore gloves when I unwrapped it. Turns out gloves were a great idea. It was a double penetration dildo wrapped in about 4 plastic shopping bags. Edit. To clarify, it wasn't a double-sided dildo. It was meant for one person to use it. When I was 8, we rented a Victorian house for a while and found a love letter from 1912 in the banister of the stairs. What did it say? I love stairs. I'm the first occupant in my current apartment, but I did find the lid of a paint bucket with a message on it on top of a wardrobe reading hope you like your new apartment / the painter. Found out that there's a spot where you can get under the cabinets in the kitchen. My cat hid there a lot the first couple of days, and after that I noticed a mysterious increase in dusty cat toys. Eventually he dragged all of the previous tenant's cat's toys out from under there. I bet your cat felt like he hit the mother lode. Crammed under a built-in drawer below a bedroom closet was a police report from the late 60s delineating a missing person / kidnapping case involving the prior, now deceased owner who at the time was teenager. It also mentions my next door neighbor who was a person of interest in the case. Haven't talked to him about it and not sure I want to bring it up. Dishes still in the dishwasher. After closing we were at the house celebrating and they showed up asking for them. Mini vials of very tiny fish in the backyard. I live near a college, so I'm hoping it was some biology project leftovers and not anything crazier. It was weird though, they were completely intact, even though being in some sort of liquid, half buried in the dirt for an obviously long time. As a kid, my parents moved into a former Minnesota Vikings lineman's house, and he left a PS1 with a bunch of games. Great dude, emo. Found a vinyl record under a carpet. It was broken and missing a piece. Didn't have a label either. It was just such a weird thing to leave there when laying down carpet, I thought. A Saturday Night Live script with handwritten notes in it. This was in a Brooklyn apartment at the base of a shelf above the closet. It appeared to be pretty old. I looked up the name of the writer on the script, and he was active at SNL about 10 years ago. Occasionally I'd get mail with the same name on it. Not my own story, but my SO was helping a mutual friend move into her new house. In the attic, they find a locked chest, and they give up looking for the key. A few months later my friend found a key and immediately tried to open the chest. To her delight, it worked. Inside was a fragile collection of newspapers all from WWII. I've seen some of the clippings, and it's absolutely surreal. Back in the day I rented the upstairs of an old brick house in the small town I grew up in. It was the first brick building to be built and served as a liquor store around the time of Prohibition in Canada on the border of the US. In the attic I found some old liquor bottles in the rafters. The house down the street was owned by Al Capone. It has secret passageways in the walls and even a jail cell in the basement. My father's childhood home had a hidden cellar under the living room, and some of his neighbors had tunnels in their basements that had been blocked up. We found a box of old notes from middle school girls flirting with the guy. Also found a couple yearbooks and other random pictures. Dude was quite the player in middle school. In the backyard, half buried under pine needles, a die-cast car. It was a station wagon. Unusual to find station wagon toys at all. The exact model as ours, in the same color, with the same wood grain. There was also a beautiful marble Lazy Susan back there that we've kept on the kitchen table for decades. We found a massive painting of Meadow with a deer in an ornate frame in our attic. Only one way into the attic, neither were big enough to get the painting in or out. Even more weird, attics were not standard in this subdivision. The previous owners wiled in the rafters, put the portrait up there, and then made the only door into too small to get the portrait out. Needless to say we left it there for the next owners to find. Years after moving into one house my parents found a Tupperware container that had a decent amount of money in it for our family. The next house we moved into the previous owner died from autoerotic asphyxiation. At some point, my parents went through the workroom more thoroughly and discovered homemade porn. We had a fireplace, and they said that's where the porn went. We knew the previous owner and his parents from church. I've always been glad my parents found the homemade porn. It would have been awful for his parents, I'm sure. A 1950/60s nuclear bomb survival kit, complete with rice in a can and a pamphlet that instructed mothers not to let their radiated children inside if they were playing outside when the bomb went off. So amazing. A medium-sized box filled with bottles of alcohol, one of which being an almost 60-year-old unopened bottle of Crown Royal. My dad held onto that bottle for the next 7 years and we shared it with my younger brother, 19, and sister, 18. Talking about life and memories of my grandfather, when he passed away, he was very close to us, and Crown was his favorite. Not trying to be sad, it's a memory I'm quite fond of. A friend of mine found a box with a mummified human head, bullet hole and all in his grandfather's attic. Turns out that it was a grisly relic from the First World War. His great-grandfather had served over at Gallipoli, shot this poor Turk during a battle, and brought his head home. This ex-soldier even made this lovely velvet-lined box to store his new friend in. My friend contacted the authorities, and it was later repatriated back to Turkey and given a proper burial. Pretty surreal that 3 generations of his family lived in this house for over 80 years with a decapitated head living in their roof without having any idea about it.